Today Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the Studio I podcast. I am so happy to have you here. Today I want to talk about getting over your fear of starting. Because honestly, I waited way too long to start a YouTube channel, to start a business, to go after my dream career. I put it off so long, and I know that you probably are also afraid of starting something new, of finally committing to making your dream life come to life. And that is what I wanted to talk about in this podcast episode. So today I want to talk about 4 reasons as to why you might be afraid of starting, how I got over them, and some tips and tricks on how you can do the same. So the first reason that a lot of people are afraid of starting something new is because they are afraid of the unknown. Our brain is wired to stay with the things that we know. It goes to familiar areas. It goes to familiar behavior, habits, places, because it's what it knows. Start familiarizing yourself with the subject. Learn as much about it as you possibly can. Dive deep into that world without actually committing your behavior. Because in that way, your brain starts familiarizing itself with that world, with what it can expect, and it becomes something known. So the moment that you then finally decide to take action, it actually becomes a whole lot easier to take that action because you already know what it's gonna look like. It might not be entirely like you've seen in your surroundings or wherever it was, but you kind of know what you can expect. When I was thinking about starting a YouTube channel and starting a business, what I did personally is I watched a lot of how to create YouTube videos, how to start a YouTube channel videos, but I also watched people live the life. I followed a lot of creators, a lot of business owners who did not only talk about the how-to, but who also really showed the life that they were living. Now, I didn't want their life exactly, but I knew what I could expect going into this career. Now, this career isn't completely ready yet for me, and I'm still building it. But building is a lot easier because I know how my life can look where I go. I know that if I want to be a full-time YouTuber, that where my income streams can come from, because I've watched people talk about it. I've watched people talk about how much money they make. I might not make exactly the same amount of money, but it's very clear as to what my life as a content creator, as a business owner could look like. So for you, it might be, if you're thinking about of going into a career here or a career there, familiarize with what that familiarize yourself with what that would look like. If you want to move to a different country, start researching and following creators or people that actually live there. So not only the tourist guides, but really look at people who are living their daily lives there. Or if it's a new hobby that you want to start, learn as much as you possibly can before you actually start doing it. It will create excitement. It will make you excited for that life instead of fear. Because you've probably read this, but our brains can't tell the difference between excitement and being nervous, because it's this exact same physical response that you get to both emotions. So if you can turn that being nervous and scared into being excited, your brain will just go along with it because it's the same feeling, and it will make starting a hell of a lot easier. You might also not start because you do not know how to do it. You might just simply not know how to do the thing that you want to do. Whether it is climbing a very difficult hike up a mountain, whether it's starting a business, whether it's going into a new career, whatever it is, you might simply not know how to do the thing that you want to do. And that might be because you don't know where to start. That might be because you lack the skills. But what will help tremendously in this situation is to actually break down all the steps that you need to achieve in order to get to the place where you want to go. Even this might be a difficult exercise. And here I suggest again that you learn from other people. Look at 2 or 3 people who have done the same thing as you and figure out how they got there. Now, not everybody that has done the thing will showcase their journey, but trust me, there will be people. On the internet, everybody is showing what they've done. There's content creators for everything. There's people publishing, writing, vlogging, probably about the topic for the thing that you want to do. Figure out how those people got here and compare their journeys, because they probably won't have done the same, and that leaves you with options. That leaves you with options that you can pick between from what you prefer. Or it can be, if you don't manage to do one thing, you still have the option to do the other. Just make sure that you don't go with one person and what they've done and just follow that, because what they've done might not work for you. But when you get data from a lot of different people, you can see that there's a lot of different ways to getting to where you want to go. And that will actually help you decide what route that you want to take. And once you have all of those steps that you need to do, whether it's just one path that you need to walk, for example, getting a degree, or whether it is something like more like a pyramid that you have to build. Starting a business, on the other hand, which is what I struggled with a lot, there's a lot of components that don't necessarily follow after one or the other. I mean, whether I do my marketing has nothing to do with having my taxes in order. It's something completely different, and it's two completely different skills that I have to learn and figure out. What I suggest in those situations is that you start in the beginning with the things that you feel the least resistance towards and that you are excited about. Maybe that is creating your logo. Maybe that is creating your website, or maybe it is deciding what color of car you want. Those things are not as important as creating your products or learning how to do your taxes. Those are not as important. But the first things that you do have to be things, or should be things, that you are excited about, because it will get the ball rolling, because it will get the momentum going from I can do this. So starting with the simple things and keeping that excitement alive will then help you to actually start with the hard stuff. For me, for example, I knew that I wanted to create a course. I knew that I wanted to create a coaching program. It was the thing that I was most excited about. So before I made my website, before I published my first video, I made the whole outline for the Dream Life coaching program. It was the first thing I did. And that filled me with so much motivation that I could make the dreams of other people come true, that it became worth building a website, learning how to edit. Hell, it was worth learning how to do my taxes. And it is incredibly complicated and I still hate it. But I did push through it, because there were things within the process that I had so much excitement and passion towards, that it helped me get through the hard parts. Because giving up at the hard parts meant letting go of the things that excited me. And I didn't want to do that. So if you're really, really scared of starting something new, start with the things that you are excited about. And just do that. And if that isn't worth it for you to then do the really hard things, it's okay to let go. But for most people, the momentum will start going and you will get where you want to go. That is one part, the knowing where to start, breaking down all the tasks. But there might also just be a lot of things that you just don't know how to do. And we tend to be embarrassed about not knowing how to do things. I encourage you to learn in private, to just commit to learning the skill without actually having to commit to doing the skill. And that may sound weird, but we all want to become an expert as fast as possible. But if we push ourselves to become an expert too fast, we set ourselves up for failure. And that is when the embarrassing moments happen. That is when we fail. That is when we do stupid stuff. So by allowing ourselves to spend enough time as a beginner to build a really, really solid knowledge foundation to build the rest of your dreams upon, will make sure that you don't build a shady structure that will collapse because you don't actually know how to do things. And because you build that very solid foundation of just learning, you know that you can trust upon your skills. It's really the idea of learning enough so you build a foundation that you trust to stand upon to keep building. And you can go back to that beginner phase when you need it. If you see that you are missing a piece in your foundation, you can always go back to learning that piece and to adding it before you build further. I don't know if that makes sense. I always compare it to like a house. You start with the foundation and it takes the most time. If you have looked at construction around you, once they have the foundation and they've dug out and they made it very structurally sound, the house will be there very fast. But holding the ground, that stays for a couple of months because that's what takes the most time. And the same goes for your skill set. Commit to learning, and you can learn by yourself. You don't have to tell anyone you're starting a business yet, or you're learning how to do a certain thing before you know how to do it. You don't have to tell people. I know a friend of mine who wanted to get her driver's license, and she was very, very afraid of being too stupid. She put it that way. I don't think she's stupid, but she put it that way. Of ever achieving it, of ever passing her driving test. So she didn't tell anyone that she was taking classes because she couldn't fail. Like, she could fail, but she didn't have to tell anyone that she failed. And that helped her to get over that fear of starting. When I wanted to start a YouTube channel, I committed to learning, I committed to experimenting, but I did not tell my family or my friends that I was doing it because I knew that would be too much pressure on myself. So that's what I mean by commit to learning in private. Commit to building that solid foundation without telling anyone that you're building it. And once you have your foundation and you start building upon that, that is when people will see. They will see because you will come out and you will have it public, or that's when you can start showing people, or you can even not tell anyone before the whole entire house is built. You don't have to tell people you're building your dream life. You can do it in private until you feel comfortable coming out with it. And while we were talking about learning and doing things, I also want to touch on the fear of failure, because I already talked about it a little bit. What holds a lot of people back is that fear of failure. We make up whole entire stories in our head about how bad failure is gonna be, and that the world and life is gonna fall apart and we will never be happy again because we failed. I was terrified as well. I learned how to reframe failure, and it is something that I also talk about in my coaching program, which, by the way, I am opening up again very soon, and I only have 30 places available. So if you are interested in joining the Dream Life coaching program, head to the description box and I have all the information there and a link to put yourself on the waitlist. Back to failing. Reframing failure is one of the most powerful things that you can do, and we are going to use our rational part of our brain to calm down the irrational part. So lean into the fear of failure. Grab a piece of paper, notebook, iPad, laptop, whatever it is you want, and write down all the things that you are afraid of failing at. Just write all of them down. Where do you think you're gonna fail? When you have written all of those things down, then think of what you think would be the consequences of those failures. For example, I'm going to go a little bit unhinged here, but that is where my brain was at when I was debating whether I should quit my 9-to-5 job to become a freelancer and to start Studio I marketing. I thought that I was going to fail at getting a job after that, which is kind of reasonable. I mean, there's a possibility. The job market isn't easy. But where I got unhinged was with the consequences of that. I thought, if I start a business, I'm going to fail to find clients. If I don't find clients, I won't have a job. Logical. If I don't have a job, I don't have money. Logical. If I don't have money, I can't afford to pay rent. If I can't afford to pay rent, my boyfriend will not love me anymore. If he won't love me anymore, he's gonna leave me. I'm gonna end up in the streets. My parents will be so disappointed in me that they won't support me. My best friends will want to have nothing to do with me because I'm poor and a failure. So I will have to live on the street, be homeless, and I will never be happy again. See how unhinged I got just from the fear of not getting a job? And this happens to a lot of people. We dramatize what would happen so much. That's insane. It's insane. Of course we don't start, because the consequences of starting become so huge in our brain that we can't fathom the idea of ever taking that risk. So we're going to reframe that failure. One, by writing down all the things that you might fail at. Just admit what you're scared of. Instead of pushing it away, admit what you're scared of and treat it as problems. Treat it as things that we can solve. And ask yourself 2 questions. The things that you are scared of failing, how can you prevent them? And how can you fix them after they happen? This will help your rational brain to tune in and actually see that the things that will happen won't be that bad, because we can stop it before it spirals to I will have to live on the street and never be happy again. Let's take my example for jumping and quitting my job, and then I'm scared that I will fail at finding a job. How can I prevent that? I can prevent that, for example, by having a job lined up before I quit. That can be my safety measure. I can make sure that I don't quit my job before I have found clients. It's an easy example, and often the things that we are super scared of happening, there's easy ways to prevent. I am afraid if I start a business that I will get fined super hard because I'm going to mess up all my accounting. Learn how to do accounting before you start a business. Easy. It comes down to waiting a little bit longer until you have security, or learning how to do something before you take the jump. Often those things are easy enough to prevent the things that we are afraid of failing. Now, things might go wrong and we can still fail. We want to think beforehand on how we can fix those things that might go wrong. For example, what if I did wait until I got a job? Until I had clients, but then all of those financial crisis comes along and all of those clients stop working with me. That would really suck. How I can fix that then? Again, I had several options. I could get a job again because I still have highly valuable skills that I can market into getting a job. I will earn less, I will be less happy, but I can fix the situation. I can get a job. I can even prevent that situation from being catastrophic by building an emergency fund that I can fall back on while I look for new clients. It's another way that I can fix it. So there's always rational, quite easy solutions to your problems, to your failures. And then you learn from them and you move on. We don't have to demonize them that much inside our brain, which is something that we do way too often. And what can help here as well is, again, familiarize yourself with it. Look at other people who failed in the things that you are afraid of failing at, and then look at how those people fixed the situation, and you will see that they didn't struggle that much. And another thing that I found really helped me is look at the cost of not doing it. And the cost of not doing it might sometimes be scarier than the cost of doing it. Because if I quit my job and I tried to start an agency and it didn't work out and I had to get a job again, at least I tried. Instead of staying in an agency, in a job that I hated, that made me miserable, that got me in a burnout, and staying in that situation and doing that all over again and feeling mentally and physically the worst that I ever did in my whole entire life. Feeling so disappointed in myself for letting that happen, I simply couldn't do it to myself to put myself through that again. And that is why I jumped without enough safety measures. I do have to admit that I didn't have enough safety measures. So be better prepared than I was and you will probably be fine. And the last thing that a lot of people are scared of, one that I struggle with a little less, but I know that some other people in my life really do, and that is with I do struggle with it, but not in a professional sense. It's the fear of losing control. When you start doing something, and a lot of the times there might be a lot of factors that you cannot control. For example, starting a business. If you want to start a business, you cannot control the markets. You cannot control the financial situation. You cannot control if there's a war that breaks out in your country or whatever it is. There's a lot of unpredictable factors. This is true, and you really cannot help it. And it is really scary, and you cannot fix these things. But what you can do is pour all of that fear into the things that you can control. You cannot control the financial markets, but you can control making a product that is better than any of your competitors. You can control committing to creating an international business that is safe when there is a war that breaks out in your country, so you can just hop over to somewhere else in a safer spot. These are things that you can control, and these are things that again can be your safety measures. And by doing that, you will often be safe from those unpredictable factors, and it will feel a lot better because you are focusing on what you can control instead of worrying about the things that you can't, which will then take away from the quality of the things that you can control. And so just hone in and focus all of your energy into those controllable things. Be the best that you can possibly be the smartest in your decisions that you can possibly be, and you are doing enough. Think of it as building a super strong ship and having enough safety boats that if there is the biggest storm you can ever think of, that your ship won't sink, and if it does end up sinking, you still have your lifeboats to save yourself and get out. Think of it like that. You're gonna be fine. I'm saying this in this podcast episode like it's easy, and I can say that you're going to be fine. But at the same time, I am scared as hell because I am losing subscribers on my YouTube channel, and the career that I wanted isn't entirely turning out the way that I wanted to, and the fear is coming back. And that is something that a lot of people don't talk about enough. Once you've started, people think that that fear will go away, and it doesn't. It stays with you. And every time things start going south, you start wondering again and again whether it is your fault that they're happening and whether you shouldn't have started at all. You can go back to the drawing board and you can fall back on those things that I've said before, but a part of it is also accepting that these things take time. You cannot be perfect at a first try. Things won't go right immediately. It's easy to say for me that you need to have confidence, and if you don't know where to start because you don't know where you want to go, or you just simply are having problems by breaking all of these things down, I can help you with that in the coaching program. And I wanted to talk a bit about it a little bit more because it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. Like I said, it was the first thing that I designed when I started this business, and it is finally time to launch it. Like I said, I only have place for 30 people. I want to be able to have one-on-one sessions, and otherwise I just don't have the time for everyone. But I will be repeatedly offering the program, so if you fall out of the 30 people, there will be another chance again. And so the program is based on the dream life structure. We're going to look at who you are, where you want to go, how you can do that, and then how you can overcome everything that you think will stand in your way. And we go through the fear of failure as well, because I will help you come up with those solutions to help you to see what would realistically happen if you want to start something. So you don't have to do it alone. You will get one-on-one coaching from me, but it will also be a community of 30 people who are all there with the same mindset as you, who all want to build their dream life, who all want to go places and they just don't know how. People who are afraid, just like you. And we can motivate each other and learn from each other, and just after those 3 months, you will be well on your way to creating that dream life, and you will have gained 29 or even 30 if you count me, new friends. So if that is something that you are interested in, as I said before, it is in the description box. And with that, I'm gonna let you go. I just want to give you a little reminder that I am very active again on Instagram and TikTok. So if that is something that you're interested in following, you can find it in the description box as well. If you enjoyed the episode, please give me a subscribe. I would love to have you here. And again, I am struggling in closing off the episodes. I am so sorry that I am so bad at this. So I will just see you on Wednesday. Toodaloo!